Hello students, welcome to StudyIQ. So we have completed Marx, all the theories completed. We have discussed about Marx concept or Marx idea about society and change. Okay, so there we have discussed about Marx concept of production, which is related to forces of production, relations of production, and we have discussed both. And then we have talked about economic infrastructure, social superstructure. We have also talked about, being, social being, all these things, right? And then we have talked about historical materialism theory. There we have also discussed about modes of production, starting from primitive communism to ancient mode of production to feudal mode of production to capitalism, and the futuristic conception in terms of socialism and communism. Then we have seen his concept or theory of class and class struggle, and then we have also discussed theory of alienation. So we have done with the syllabus. Now in this session, what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you how to write a critically analyzed question, right? So for example, if you get a question on critically analyze historical materialism or critically analyze alienation, or if you get a question on critically analyze class and class struggle, okay? So this kinds of question, how you're going to deal is what I'm going to discuss here. So first, try to understand what we are actually going to do. Suppose you got a question on critically analyze Marx theory of historical materialism. Now how your answer should look like? It should be, there should be an introduction. So what you will write in the introduction, you will talk about Marx concept of idea and Marx concept of society and individual. So you will actually talk about the production process, you will talk about forces of production, relations of production, you will talk about economic infrastructure, superstructure which comprises society, and then being, social being. All these things will be incorporated in your introduction in maximum 30-40 words. Okay, so that we have done. Then we will talk about the theory of historical materialism. Okay, so then after that I have told you will follow this formula CCR. Before also we have discussed. In this session I'm going to show you how I'm going to write it. Okay, so what I'll do is in this Marxian case, Marx, I will discuss it completely, what all things has to be there. Exactly the same you need to do in case of Weber, Durkheim, Parson, Merton and Mead. In those cases I will not be discussing. Okay, so I'm telling you this is how I'm basically doing in my regular classes also, but there I talk about other things also, but so here we don't have enough time, so limited topics only we can cover here in YouTube. So I will show you how I'm going to do Marx exactly the same way you need to prepare. For example, contribution, relevance and all these things I'll give you. Okay, I'll give you how I'm going to write this answer. So contribution is what the C is all about. So after writing the theory, you will talk about contribution of Marx. Okay, so Marxian contribution in terms of development of sociology, new fields of sociology in terms of sociology of work, industrial sociology, etc. Then you can talk about different methods which is used by Marx, the perspective which is introduced by Marx, for example conflict perspective, which even though is a radical perspective will give an opposite view of social reality, right? You can see social reality in a different dimension. For example, religion is understood in an entirely different dimension. Family even understood as an exploitative device. So I hope you understood. We have discussed about many such concepts, that constitution is understood as the document of bourgeois, parliament is the executive committee of bourgeois, right? Religion is the heart of heartless world, soul of soulless condition, and is an opium of masses, opiating the masses. Family as an exploitative device or an ideological conditioning device. So these are Marxian understanding by using conflict perspective. Okay, so social phenomena can be understood by using Marx's perspective, so you will get an entirely different picture. So critically analyzed concept itself is actually coming from where? Marxian perspective, and that perspective is what we are going to critically analyze in this session. Okay, so I hope your criticism and critical analysis is coming from Marxian perspective only, conflict perspective only. Any critical analysis question, general studies or anything, basically you're applying Marxian concepts, Marxian perspective to critically analyze, whether it is NRHM or any program. Okay, so contribution. Now what I will do, I will give you this. We have done with this introduction. I have given you a common introduction for all the questions we have already done. Then historical materialism we have done. If the theory is about alienation, you will write alienation here. If the theory is about class struggle, you will write class struggle here. Okay, now contribution will remain the same for all theories, whether it is historical materialism, alienation or class struggle, and with the expectation that two theories together will not be asked. So if Marx is asked, one theory will be asked. Okay, there are 6 thinkers, they can ask you even 6 theories, one from each thinker, but there is no chance that 2 theories from same thinker will be asked. So keeping that in mind, I can have common introduction and I can have common contribution. So if the theory is about historical materialism, it doesn't matter, I am writing the same introduction, and alienation also same introduction, similarly contribution also same. After this, second C is criticism. So criticism, I will write general criticism and I will see specific criticism. So general criticism means generally Marx is criticized on certain grounds. So Marx is accused of being a reductionist. I'll tell you how he is called a reductionist. Marx is accused of giving extra emphasis to economic infrastructure. Marx is accused of giving importance to society and is a macro sociologist. Marx is again criticized of using conflict perspective excessively by ignoring the functional aspects or the equilibrium of society. So all these are general criticism. Any theory, if you take historical materialism, mode of production, class struggle or alienation, you can see all these, right? Economic infrastructure is considered important over superstructure. Okay, materialistic conception is important. Okay, he is ignoring that idealistic concept. And then macro sociologist, giving importance to society, using conflict perspectives. All these are the general criticism. Specific to theories, there are criticisms. Like when we talk about mode of production, his concept of communism is a utopian concept, like that. So specific, here you will write what? Depends on the question. So general criticisms are same for all the question. So what I'm going to do now is, I'll give you this contribution, which you can write in all. I'll give you this general criticism, which again you can write in all theories. Okay, then specific criticism, I'll give you each and every specific criticism: historical materialism, alienation, okay, class struggle. So 3 theories, criticisms I'll give you specific to that theory. What you need to know is, I give you around 4 or 5. You just need to know maximum 2 or 3 maximum. See, if you see the textbooks, you will get a lot of criticism, 10, 15, 20 criticisms you can get. What is the point in knowing the criticism? There is no need to remember all these criticism. You can read, you can understand, you can get some idea, but there is no point in remembering all these criticism because you cannot write that. This is not that important. Even if you don't know any specific criticism, don't worry, no problem at all, because this general criticism that we are writing is applicable to that particular theory also. So if this question is about critically analyze, I'm telling you 4 general criticism. If you know 4 or 5, I'll tell you, which will be printed in your heart and you will never forget it. Marx is a reductionist. Marx is a macro sociologist. Marx is using conflict perspective. Marx is giving importance to society. Marx is giving importance to economic infrastructure. These 5, I'll tell you once more and I'll explain each, and after that it will be printed in your heart. These general criticism, which you can use everywhere in Marx theory. And even if you want to, you cannot forget it. Okay, I can tell you that. Once you understood Marx, these criticisms, these concepts, even if you want in your lifetime, you won't forget about these forces of production, relation of production, economic infrastructure, superstructure, all this conflict perspective, etc. You will never forget it. So don't worry about forgetting, or you cannot remember all these things. Specific criticism you may forget, but even if you don't remember any specific criticism, there is actually not going to be any problem. Absolutely, you are safe. But if you remember 1 or 2, that is good. Okay, so I'll teach you around 5-6 criticism for each. I'll give you ready-made answers. I'll give you for specific also. So historical materialism. So what is its only change here? If the question is asked, this part is specific based on the theory, and this part is also specific based on the theory. Introduction is common, contribution is common, general criticism is common, and the conclusion, that is relevance. Relevance also, I tell you why Marx is still relevant. Till the time poverty and unemployment or exploitation of man by man exist, Marx is relevant. And Marxian relevance can also be understood in terms of the welfare policies of the states, okay, labor welfare legislations, and you can also see the way capitalism is modifying in itself. And in that context, you can even say Marx has saved capitalism, because the capitalists have modified, the capitalism is modified. Now capitalism is also taking care of the workers very well. So you can see, compared to the so-called socialist societies or the mixed economies, the capitalist states are actually taking care of the citizens very well now. Right, the capitalist societies, they are very well developed. So you can see the citizens they are taking care of citizens very well. So in terms of better employment conditions, more benefits, educational facilities to the children, healthcare facilities, insurance, all these are provided, right? So capitalism is actually modified. The time Marx is writing, the capitalism at that time, it's full of exploitation. Now the capitalism is completely different. So in a way we can say that Marx has saved capitalism. Because of Marxian writings, capitalists understood the threat of workers' revolt, revolution and socialist mode of production, and they prevented by continuously modifying the system. So in that way we can also say that Marx has saved capitalism. Okay, that is also one of the contribution, in fact. So I hope you understood. Simply, if you need to write the relevance, till the time poverty and exploitation is there, Marx is relevant. Welfare state cannot ignore the concerns raised by Marx at any point of time. Okay, so this is what we are actually going to discuss today. So in terms of contribution, I'll give you some contribution. Now, general criticism. This is something you need to remember at any point of time. First is actually, Marx is accused of being a reductionist. Why Marx is accused of being a reductionist? He's trying to reduce everything in terms of economic infrastructure. So if you are saying you are alienated, why alienation? Because economic infrastructure, you are alienated. You are alienated at the production process. You will be alienated in the social institutions also, because the economic infrastructure is shaping the superstructure, whether it is education system, family, religion, etc. So if you are alienated at the economic infrastructure, if you don't have a very good job, you will be alienated elsewhere as well. If you are having a very less job, very bad job, or if you don't have a good job, even you will be alienated in your family. The reason is that is production process, and family is actually superstructure. So if you are alienated at economic infrastructure, the superstructure is shaped by the economic infrastructure. There also you will face alienation. So Marx reduced everything in terms of economic infrastructure and ignoring superstructure. Okay, so you can say reductionist. At the same time, you can say Marx is also giving importance to economic infrastructure by ignoring superstructure. But nowadays idea of the single individual can also transform society. So ideas are part of superstructure. For example, Facebook, the way Facebook changed the society, or this YouTube or the Zoom classes that I'm taking. So all these are ideas which are part of superstructure, which can also change society. But the later Marxist, or I would say neo-Marxist, or the critical school of thought, that is a Frankfurt school, they have incorporated the importance of social superstructure also in social change. But when it comes to Marx and the initial Marxist, they are only considering economic infrastructure as the main source of change. But later Marxists, the neo-Marxist or the critical school, that is a Frankfurt school, like Marcuse, Adorno, Habermas, etc., they are considering the role of social superstructure also when they discuss about social change. Okay, so this is the most important criticism. Marx is accused of being a reductionist, and Marx is giving excessive importance to superstructure. What else? You can easily tell the next one. Marx is a macro sociologist. So how can you criticize which thinker you can see? You are saying a point, Marx is a macro sociologist. So how can it be a criticism? If it need to be a criticism, you need to substantiate by using some thinker who's a micro sociologist. And who's that? Weber. So you can better use Weber here. You can in fact use any non-positivist. You can use phenomenologist, you can use ethnomethodologist, you can use Harold Garfinkel, you can use Alfred Skutz, anyone you can use. But Weber would be better, because Weber was always against Marx. Okay, so you can use Weber, and you can say that according to Weber, it is a study of internal meanings, motives, etc., which is important for sociology. The scope of sociology is to study social action and to establish the meaning attached by the actor to his action, and thereby you need to establish the cause and effect. But don't make it complex. Marx is a macro sociologist, but that is a partial understanding of reality. You also need to know the internal meanings, motives, emotions of the individual. So Marx is giving importance to society. That is another criticism you can write. But it is anyway coming with macro. When you're talking about macro, that importance to society is also taken care. Okay, so Marx is a reductionist. Marx is giving economic infrastructure or considering economic infrastructure as importance. And then he's a macro sociologist, ignoring the micro. You can use Weber over there. He's giving importance to society. And next what you can say is you can talk about conflict perspective. Okay, so Marx is only trying to identify the dysfunctions in society. For example, society is always in an equilibrium, right? So when we discuss about Parson, I'll explain the concept of equilibrium in a beautiful way. So like there are certain mechanisms. There are certain mechanisms in society, and these mechanisms, it can be schools, it can be courts, it can be police stations, it can be different, any mechanisms, they fulfill certain jobs, fulfill needs. And since they fulfill needs, the society will be in equilibrium. Okay, so society will always be in an equilibrium. There is no problem. If there is any problem, there will be a feedback. So if there is a problem of law and order, then there will be a feedback to the policing system and the judicial system. So they will act properly and again fulfill that needs which is required at that point of time, and again bring back equilibrium. Okay, for example, when industrialization came, migration is required, so joint family will not survive, so there was a break in equilibrium. So the feedback was given, so instead of joint family, nuclear family came, so the needs is met, then equilibrium. Now with the development, even nuclear family is also considered as burden, so live-in relation is coming, right? And then maybe single parent family is coming. All these are, depends on the change, and society is anyway maintaining equilibrium. But Marx failed to visualize this equilibrium. And when you talk about religion, Marx is using only conflict perspective and identifying the dysfunctions of religion, but there are many functions for religion. So you can either use Parson and say this one, or you can use Durkheim, or for that matter you can use any functionalist. You can even use Davies and Moore, but which one is better and safe for you? You can use Parson. Anyway, you are going to study this. You can use Durkheim. He is identifying the functions of family, religion, etc. All those Marx talked about, it is coming in Durkheim also. So it is better for you to use Durkheim. So already you are talking about Durkheim, Parson, Weber, etc. So you got enough criticisms. You will not face any problem with the criticizing part, okay? Even though it is general, it is applicable to specific also. If you don't know any specific criticism, still you can write very good answers with this much criticism. Marx is a macro sociologist. Marx is a reductionist. Marx is giving importance to society. Marx is giving importance to economic infrastructure. Marx is using a conflict perspective, and Marxian theories which is claimed to be universally applicable is not necessarily universally applicable also. So all these are general criticisms. Okay, so I'm expecting that these 5 or 4 criticisms is printed in your mind, then there is no problem. Any critical analysis question of Marx, it's done. You know the theory, you know the introduction. I'm going to give you the contribution now, and I'm going to give you the relevance also. So you just cut, copy, paste exactly the same in your answer, and that's it. Any critical analysis is done. Exactly the same is what I'm expecting from you, that you can work on. You need to prepare the contribution. Anyway, I'll send you the PDF. I may not take class like this, but I can share you the PDF that I'm taking in my regular classes. The notes I'll share you in the Telegram channel. What you can do is you can join the Telegram channel. This is my Telegram channel. Okay, so Zia Safir. This is my Telegram channel. This is my Instagram ID. If you need to get in touch with me, you can. This is my Facebook ID also. Our Facebook page is this, Zia IAS. Okay. So in any way, I'll give you my contact number. This is my number, 9790 892 697 or 98955 77775. You can feel free to call me or WhatsApp or Telegram. In any way you can get connected to me. If you need to write a test series with me before your mains exam, you can write it. Okay, I have the test series program, I have the personal mentorship program, I have the guidance program. So personal mentorship is there for sociology and GS. So you can see here in the Telegram channel, I have done videos for economy. Entire economy is done. History is covered, quantitative aptitude is covered, ethics is there. I was ethics topper in 2014, so you can see the videos of ethics also. All these are available. Regular classes are there, live classes are there. Anyway, you are getting online classes in StudyIQ, but if you feel like, if you need any help, you can still get in touch with me. Okay, so I'm expecting, what we have done today, at least this general criticism is already there in your mind. You should never forget it. You cannot afford to forget it now after, discussing at this level, and you may not see this kind of discussion anywhere else. If you have attended some classes already, you will understand that. Nobody will tell you how to write this answer, how to incorporate these criticisms. Nobody will tell you. Okay, so if you are attending it for the first time, then it is good for you. You will not be misguided and you will not face much problem, and you will understand that sociology is this much only. It's very simple. You can score so high. I was sociology topper 3 times consistently. Okay, so sociology is so simple and you can also crack it. 300 plus is not a big deal. It's so easy. At least paper 1, there is it is not out of your hand. If you prepare, you will get 170 plus for sure in paper 1. Nobody can stop you. It's only theoretical. Once you know the theory, and you can see my previous video, you will understand how to learn the theories also. Okay, so these criticism, never forget. Okay, so, and you will not forget it. I know that. So let's start with the first part. Anyway, we have done with introduction and all the theories, so I'm going to the contribution. Okay, it is around 100 words are there, but what you need 30-40 words. So you will be confused what 30-40 words you need to pick from this. You don't feel like ignoring anything from here. I'll tell you, I'll promise you, you don't feel like ignoring anything from here, because all are equally important. Okay, so let's see. Although Marxian theories have been criticized on a number of accounts, but his contribution to the development of sociological theory, introduction of new concepts and new methods remain unparalleled. So if you want, you can choose this sentence. Okay, Marxian theories emerged as a radical perspective in the understanding of society during 19th century. This contributed a lot towards generation of a balanced understanding of society. So two-sided view now is okay. Apart from this, Marxian concerns motivated new areas of research and streams within sociology. For example, sociology of work, industrial sociology, all these owe their origin to Marxian concepts or the concerns raised by Marx. Marx's contribution must also be analyzed in terms of qualitative changes in the policies of the state during 19th and early 20th century. The welfare legislations of labor, changes in the nature of capitalism can be easily linked to Marxian theories. In this context, it is said that Marx has saved capitalism. At least this paragraph you can take. This in itself is 30-40 words. Okay, so contribution, your answer should not be only contribution. If you write all these, your answer around 70% will be contribution. So you need this much only, 30-40 words maximum. So I'm leaving it to you. You can pick that, up to you. Okay. Now general criticism, what all things we have told, I'm telling again, Marx is a reductionist. Marx is giving importance to economic infrastructure. Marx is giving importance to society. Marx is a macro sociologist and conflict perspective. And his theories are not universally applicable. So Marx is often accused of being a reductionist. He lays overemphasis on material factors over the others. Okay. He tends to reduce the process of change in terms of productive forces, whereas nowadays the elements of superstructure has the potential to cause change. Moreover, in the present IT-based society, even the ideas of single individual can bring profound changes in society. Okay, so Facebook, etc. Marx has overlooked the equilibrium, or so that's done. Overlooked the equilibrium or the order in society and overemphasized on conflict. So this is the next one. The dynamism is understood only in the context of conflict, whereas society may change in order to bring equilibrium. Later sociologists like Simmel, Coser have analyzed the functional dimensions of conflict. Okay, so you don't want to write about these two, you can write explain Durkheim or Parson, as you know them very well, or Davies and Moore. You can write any of these, that is better, because Davies and Moore you already studied in stratification. Durkheim and Parson in detail you're going to study. So you will have enough content here, there is no problem. Okay. See, you need to substantiate with one thinker. When you make a point, when you criticize, you can substantiate it with one thinker. Everywhere you can do that. Durkheim argued that, it is there, it is coming. Durkheim argued that certain degree of crime is essential for maintaining social order. Okay. At the same time, Marxian analysis of conflict is highly incomplete, as he only talk of conflict at the level of class. He's only talking about caste conflict, but conflict can be, there are tribal conflict, right? There are caste conflicts. All these cannot be explained by using Marxian idea. A more comprehensive understanding of conflict explains both micro and macro levels of conflict. Okay, now while explaining the cause of conflict, Marx takes into consideration the contradictions in the production process, whereas there can be so many other factors which cause conflict. For example, Dahrendorf, very important criticism, you can use this, a very important thinker also when it comes to criticism of Marx. In his book Class and Class Conflict in Industrial Society, understand conflict in terms of differential authority structures. Marx lays more emphasis on macro aspects of society, ignoring the, so this is another one, I've told you this, ignoring the micro or internal dimensions. You can use Weber here, right? In terms of motives, meanings, etc. Max Weber considered understanding the subjectivity of individual as essential for understanding society. Marx has proposed general theories based on common assumptions. Such generalized theories are rarely applicable in all situations. Postmodernists question the validity of generalized theories and favor micro theories which are relevant in specific context. Moreover, it is always argued that Marx failed to visualize the postmodern society and his theories cannot be applied as it is. Okay, for example, I've told you this, neo-Marxist and the critical school of thought, although following the assumptions of Marx, modified his theories to suit the changing conditions. Critical theorists of Frankfurt School like Adorno, Marcuse and Habermas examine the role of elements of superstructure also in understanding the capitalist society. Now, if you want, you can also talk about class polarization. Okay, Marx, what Marx said? Marx said this is the haves, right? And here have-nots. Okay, so haves and have-nots, he said, and then what he said is there will be a process of class polarization, right? So there may be intermediate class. These are intermediate class. With time, what will happen? Either they will become haves through the process of bourgeoisization, or they become have-nots through the process of, proletarianization. This process is what Marx calls as class polarization, but that never happened. So Marxian idea of class polarization never happened. It went wrong, and you can use Weber there. What Weber said, it is better to understand in this shape, diamond. Middle class widened, the intermediate class actually widened, their role is widened, their contribution is widened, and in numbers also they are widened, or this structure, hexagonal structure. Okay, any of this you can use and you can criticize that point also. Okay. So this is the criticism once again. Macro sociologist giving importance to society, reductionist giving importance to economic infrastructure, conflict perspective. Okay, and then his theories are not generally applicable. There are changes made by the neo-Marxist. Then class polarization also, that never came into existence. So I hope that's done. Now let's move on to the relevance. Okay, now you can see two questions here related to relevance. Even if the question is not asked, you need to write the relevance anyway. But here I have incorporated two previous year questions. What is Marx's theory of alienation? To what extent the theory is relevant in the present society? So discuss Marx's theory of historical materialism. Is it relevant today? So when we talk about relevance, you need to answer it in two parts. How particular theory is relevant and to what extent it is not relevant today. If Marx's theory of class struggle, is it relevant or is it not relevant in present society? Okay, so to some extent it may be relevant to explain inequalities and problems of developing and underdeveloped countries, and that may not be relevant in case of developed countries, right? So to what extent it is relevant, to what extent it is not relevant, both has to be there. So that means that's what I've written here. See, all these I've incorporated here so that in the future thinkers also, you need to prepare in this way. You need to know this is what you need to write in your answer. That's why I'm explaining it here. I will explain it here only. I'll give the contribution, relevance, general criticism, etc. like this. In the future cases, you need to prepare yourself, okay? Applicability of the theory in the present context for understanding the individual and society. So that is one way of understanding the relevance. Is it applicable in the present context to understand the individual and society? So that point has to be there in your answer, whether Marxian theories are applicable in understanding individual and society. Second, applicability of the theory in understanding specific situations like problems, social change, crime, corruption, etc. So now you see this point. Can you apply Marxian theory to study problems like corruption, crime, etc.? Yes, and that's the reason why you get questions. If you see previous year papers, you see corruption, just simply they give you corruption, but you need to use Marxian perspective to talk about corruption. Okay, or they will ask you how to apply Marxian theory to understand corruption. This is how logically they will ask you question, not just like alienation or forces of production, etc. Right? So simply they're asking you corruption. you need to talk about both Marxian perspective, conflict perspective, as well as functionalist perspective. So there are functions also for corruption. Functionalist will try to identify the functions of corruption, right? See, when we talk about corruption, there are different let me not discuss all those things now. All these are required at when we discuss about ethics only, but briefly I'll tell you, there is a kind of collusive corruption and coercive corruption. Collusive means jointly, you both are ready, the both parties are ready, right? So you are bribing to someone and he is ready to take the bribe and you are ready to give the bribe. So you are bribing 10 rupee means you are getting 100 rupee benefit. So this is collusive corruption. Coercive means you are forced to bribe. Like if you go to village office and if you ask for a certificate, the village officer may ask you 100 rupee, 200 rupee, etc. This is coercive corruption. Which one is more dangerous? Both are dangerous, but coercive corruption is more dangerous. Both are anyway dangerous, but still functionalist will identify the functions of it because you get things done faster way. Okay, so there are many other functions also. Let's not discuss about that. That is a different dimension that we will see in Durkheim. So here what I'm saying is, this is how you will write a sociological answer. You will, in the top it is written that write a short note in sociological perspective. It is not that write a short note on corruption. If write a short note on corruption, any one of you can write an answer, 100 words, 200 words, 1000, 2000, 10,000 words you can write. But in sociological perspective, you also have to identify the functions of corruption. There are a lot of functions for corruption. Okay, so that you can check only after and keep on writing the answers, and finally you should be writing as a sociologist. And I'm sure once you attend my classes, once you take test series with me, you will be at least getting a flavor of a sociologist, and your answer should have a flavor of a sociologist. Okay, so corruption, I'm saying both Marxian perspective and functionalist perspective should be there if it is generally asking about corruption, or they will ask you how to understand corruption by using Marxian perspective. You can see previous year papers. Similarly, crime, social change, all. Okay, so that is the relevance. Then to what extent the extent of use made by the future theorists and planners. I have told you already, neo-Marxist, critical school, planning, welfare states, etc. is using Marxian understanding, so still relevant. Application in future. So these are the 4 dimensions which has to be incorporated when you're writing relevance. Okay, but relevance as part of an answer, then you need to write 30-40 words. But if the question is asked, to what extent it is relevant today, these are specific question on relevance. So all these ways you need to write. You need to know these are the 4 steps in which you need to write relevance. And you need to practice also. These things has to be there in your mind, okay? I hope you understood. So let's see, I have prepared something which incorporate all those things what I have told you, all these 4 dimensions are there. So that will give you a clue and you prepare accordingly, rest of the thinkers. I'll share the notes. I may not give the class in YouTube, I'll try to give, but because see I have only 35 topics is what I'm planning to cover in YouTube, important topics. So this is not that important. One is done, that's enough. You can replicate it, okay? So, although Marx has been criticized on number of accounts, but his theories are still considered relevant. Like various theories like historical materialism, class struggle and alienation can be used to understand society and individual today. How? For example, Marxian theories have been applied to understand the emerging world order by the world system theorist, by Immanuel Wallerstein. A theory by Immanuel Wallerstein is quite famous in this regard. So this is just an example. This theory of Immanuel Wallerstein, the system theory you are going to study in the chapter 10. Okay, social change, you will study this theory. So you will understand. I'm not wasting my time in discussing that now. I may discuss that in future. Similarly, Marxian ideas have been found highly relevant in understanding the dynamics of present society. Postmodern theories like Baudrillard has used the concept of hyper-reality to explain the exploitative system generated by MNCs. So hyper-reality means the reality, the fake reality which is actually created by these MNCs through advertisements, fake advertisements, etc. Okay, so similarly, in the present society, Marxian idea of alienation has been found highly relevant in understanding individual related issues, the problems that even you people are facing, right? So various studies on social consequences of IT use, information technology, use the concept of alienation, to explain the isolation and the growing psychological disorder due to excessive use of computers, mobile phones, social media platforms, etc. Various crimes like corruption, murders, theft, etc. can be best explained by using this concept. Okay, so if you need to know how corruption and murders etc. can be explained, I am expecting by now you are in a position to explain from your side by understanding Marxian concept. If you need, I'll do it later. It is said that Marxian theories, or I'll do it when we discuss about the question paper. After I've told you in around 30 sessions I'll take on important topics, then I'll move to the question papers. I'll start with 2-3 question papers, so I'll explain how you answer and how to complete the paper in time. Everything I'll show you. I'll show you how I'm going to attempt the paper, like that I'll show you. Okay. It is said that Marxian theories are always be relevant up till the time poverty and exploitation exist. Marxian theories are relevant till the time poverty and exploitation of man by man is there. The relevance of his theory echoes in the welfare policies of the state nowadays and the continuous modification that the capitalist society which is facing. Okay, the labor welfare legislations can be attributed to Marxist ideas. Apart from these, existing theoretical perspectives frequently use Marxian assumption to develop more practical understanding of society. For example, the theory of class and class struggle is still relevant in understanding the inequality which is present in underdeveloped and developing nations. Thus, it is said that howsoever deficient Marxian theories are for understanding the present reality, still the policy makers and theorists cannot afford to ignore the concerns raised by Marx. Okay, so or the questions raised by Marx. See, there is a you can love Marx, you can hate Marx, but you cannot ignore Marx. Okay, you cannot ignore Marx. The concerns raised by Marx, so the questions raised by Marx, till the time poverty and exploitation is there, you cannot ignore Marx. Okay, so specific criticism I'll discuss in the next session, some other session. Okay, like historical, you can prepare historical materialism, class struggle, alienation, specific you can prepare from somewhere. If I get a slot, I'll discuss it later. So we'll stop here. If you have any doubts, you can feel free to contact me. I have already given my number. This is my number 9790-892-697 or 98955-77775. Okay, so this is my Instagram ID. So Zia Safir, Instagram ID, Facebook, Telegram, okay, and Zia IAS, that's my Facebook page. So in any way you can get in touch with me. So if you want to have answer writing sessions, okay, answer writing programs, test series, please contact me. So see you guys. Thank you.